and we shall have peace.
It seems you can only appreciate the warmth of summer once you have endured the cold winds of winter. Life is about contrast, and as such, without anger and frustration, how would you ever know happiness? Watching Snyder's Justice League in 2021 was a very enjoyable time for me considering the events that was going on in the world. Prior to that moment, some vocal people online were certain that the release would never see the light of day, and I am extremely glad that they were proven wrong in the end. It seems that sometimes, even studios can develop some common sense in regards to product. My cynical self is very aware of the only reason why this was released. It was the fact that Joss Whedon had proven himself to be a scumbag with his actions both present and the past. This meant that the last project that he worked on for Warner Brothers had been tainted with the stink of scandal and predation. So if you had a newly formed corporate entity called Warner Discovery and you want to attract people to your new streaming service, then what would you do? Well, you listen to the fans that believe that the originally shot product would have been better than the trash they got, put some money towards post-production, and allow a publicly maligned filmmaker to complete his cinematic vision. Of course, this will buy you the goodwill of the fans of his work and will let the naysayers get the chance to see the work too. Either way, it's a win-win. So I am happy to report that the movie that was released to HBO Max in 2021 was a fucking visual epic, a celebration of auteur vision and fantasy storytelling. And I am so glad that this movie actually exists. It's solid proof that sometimes fandom once united has a voice. Now, I have heard the opinions that this movie is overly long and as such bloated. Well, everyone is welcome to their own opinion, and I am certain that I don't fucking care. We have the 2-hour version of it, and you can watch that dumpster fire if you want. If crappy CGI, an incoherent plot, and a washed out messy film is your preferred option because some witty dialogue is what you want, then you do you, my friend. I tend to prefer my films with some competence, but that's just me, I guess. This movie is a stark improvement over the Joss Whedon hack job by miles. Steppenwolf in that abomination looked like a PlayStation 4 mini-boss. You could not help but get pulled out of the movie whenever he's on screen. And not to mention his motivation was shallow at best and non-existent at worst. In Snyder's cut, we have a better redesign with a lot of intimidation factor to boot. Every design choice from his armor to his build and his look all serves to enhance the character and serves a function. We get his motivation and you really feel for a creature that is hell-bent on destroying our world and looks nothing like you. You sense his regrets, his anger, his intelligence and his eagerness to please his master Darkseid, his own family member whom he betrayed and as such has to pay a debt to redeem himself. I cherish this movie for its cohesiveness, grand artistry and visual storytelling alone. This movie is the true definition of each frame a painting, because this movie actually looks like a Renaissance painting. You can pause it on any screen and you will have an epic frame-worthy poster. This movie is 4 hours long and there is context for that. Originally, it was envisioned as a 2-part movie which would have wrapped up the tapestry of films in the Snyderverse in a definite fashion. Think of it as the phase 1 to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I have already detailed why we didn't get that and you can watch my videos for a clarification. So in essence, what we have here is a condensed yet altered version of Snyder's vision. First and foremost, this movie is for the fans of his vision of the DCEU who are patiently invested in his art. Yes, I count myself as one of them. And second, it's for the general public who shunned anything that didn't conform to modernity and blindness. I truly enjoyed these people eating crow to praise this film. This movie was entirely written by Chris Terrio and I dare say this is his best work to date. The dialogue written for the characters fit the narrative perfectly. There is no witty pretentiousness here and I could not be more glad. Scenes that were meant to be dramatic delivers the drama, and comedic scenes are rarely a miss here. Watching this movie was a time well spent. No expense was spared on this movie and it's evident on any screen that this film is watched on. This movie is beautifully shot, the cinematography and screen composition is also amazing. The use of color and contrast here is simply master level artistry. If you have pictured Greek mythology as a movie, this is most likely what you would have seen. You cannot watch this film and recognize what a missed opportunity it was not to have seen this on IMAX screens. But I digress. Now I can gush about this movie all day, but unfortunately time is limited. So let's delve a bit deeper and explore the theme of this movie, which was teamwork. Now the premise of this movie is the formation of the Justice League and we all know that. But what we get to experience here is how a group of people with their own troubles and demons finally learn to work together as a team to oppose a greater threat. I like the fact that this movie links directly to the events of Batman vs Superman. Bruce Wayne, after witnessing the sacrifice of Clark Kent, has been left chained with his hope in humanity restored. He understands that the world was safer with Superman around and he wants to assemble a team that can protect the world in dire times. Thanks to BVS, we as the audience are already familiar with Batman and Wonder Woman. We already know what they are about and their abilities, so the movie doesn't waste any time to explore them. Instead, the characters in this film that Snyder explored deeply were The Flash, Aquaman and Cyborg. They had been introduced in BVS, but here we are given a deeper understanding of them and their abilities. And by the end of this movie, we as the audience understand why this team is perfectly balanced and what each person brings to the table. Barry Allen, played by Ezra Miller, is a person that is trying to prove something. I mean, you would think as the fastest person in the world he would be sure of his own abilities, but nope. In fact, he is terrified of his power because it can break reality. He has a father in prison whose innocence he's trying to prove, and he's the only person that believes in this innocence. And he also uses his gift to save people even at the risk of being found out because he's a hero through and through. You see, like Bruce and Victor, Barry also knows loss. His father is in prison as he's been accused of his mother's death. In a sense, Barry lost both his parents. But the difference between Barry and them is the simple fact that Barry is an optimist. He never loses faith in people. I wasn't surprised that he was the first person to join the team because he gets to work with Batman. Barry wants to prove that he's one of the best, and by the end of this movie he absolutely proves himself. I mean, he single-handedly gave the world and his team a second chance to win, regardless of the consequences. And that heroic moment in the movie was absolutely earned. Aquaman, played by Jason Momoa, is a bit different to Barry, but looking like that, I guess it can be expected. To be fair, we get a bit of his backstory in Whedon's version, but I like how it's told here. In Snyder's version, you understand his hesitation and bravado in his pretense of not caring. Arthur is a child of two worlds, Atlantis and the surface world, and for that he has always felt like he doesn't belong anywhere, but in reality he belongs in both worlds. I actually prefer his personality and portrayal in Snyder's version. When we first meet him, he's antisocial and brooding, and you are made to feel like he doesn't care much for the world. His interaction with Volker were nothing significant but quite enjoyable. Hearing William Dafoe say, "Take up your mother's trident," just put a smile on my face for no reason. It's a line only Dafoe could have delivered with that much gravitas. We do, however, get to see the layers covering his emotion peeled bit by bit throughout this movie. This is more evident after Victor loses his father. His interaction with Barry in the lab was one of those simple scenes that beat all the witty nonsense they wrote for him in Whedon's version. When he tells Barry, "We are asking a kid that just lost his father to go up against the most powerful machines in the world," and Barry simply asks, "I thought you didn't care." Arthur simply responds, "I never said that." This scene is simply beautiful because it fits the character perfectly. Of course he cares, but he hides it from the world around him. This is also an indication to the audience that he considers himself a member of this team and has started worrying about his teammates. This, my friend, is what you call subtext. And the payoff in this moment is during the final battle when Aquaman is hoisted in the air by the parademons and Victor flies in and grabs him from falling. Victor then says, "You are welcome," because he knows Arthur will not be the type to say thank you. And Arthur responds, "My man," before Victor gives him a boost to continue the fight. Simply beautiful. This, my friend, is what you call setup and payoff. And since I've already mentioned him, let's talk about Victor Stone. Cyborg is the second most developed character in this film, and Snyder shows you how important he really is to the team's formation. As a side note, the best developed character here is Superman, but more on that later. Victor Stone, as played by Ray Fisher, is simply the heart of a team. A former college football star who ends in a car crash with his mother that claims her life and leaves him brain dead and crippled. His father, a scientist, driven to desperation, uses the mother box to give him a chance as a cyborg. But Victor instead perceives himself as a monster and becomes angry at his once absent father. Victor's arc is about self-acceptance, but what's interesting here is how he gets there and the payoff to that acceptance. While not explicitly stated, Victor has survivor's guilt, and when we first meet him, he's actively shunning the world. But the irony of that is, given how technologically advanced he is, he's uniquely powerful in a technologically driven world. As his father called it, the world of ones and zeros. Cyborg is the glue that pulls the parts of the team into a whole. He is the person that tells them the actual function of the mother box, which was to turn something dead into something alive. This then gives the team hope to resurrect Superman since they realized they were no match for Steppenwolf. Of course, when Superman does resurrect, we know how that turned out. But even when it's assumed they are on their own in the final fight, he decides to take on the 3 mother boxes without any hesitation. Mind you, this is shortly after witnessing the death of his father with his own eyes. Let's not forget that he gets the team to their final destination and gives Batman a chance to take out the pillars by simply fixing the plane. And finally, when he gets synchronized with the mother boxes, he gives up a chance of being rebuilt with organic parts and even have his parents resurrected to save the world. The final touch to all of this was him finally listening to his dad's recordings to understand him better. The irony is, the choice his father made after he was in the accident was the same choice he had made except on a larger scale. Silas, his father, used the power he didn't understand to transform him into a cybernetic being so he could live. Victor did not have a chance without that transformation. In the final battle, Victor reinforces his father's choice in the end after finally understanding that him being alive is more important than how he has changed. Because without what he has been turned into now, Earth will also not have a chance. I guess you could say it's like poetry and it rhymes. But we must also understand that the team would have definitely failed faster without the man, the myth and the legend himself, Superman, as played by Henry Cavill. The best depiction of Superman in any modern DC film so far, with the exception of Christopher Reeve, is Cavill's performance in this movie. And if you think I'm lying, watch the scenes with Superman and come tell me I'm wrong. Superman here strikes the perfect balance of humanity, strength and hope without the cheesiness of Whedon's shitty rewrites. When he is first resurrected, he is confused and fights the team. It's a demonstration of power level, sure, but it's tastefully done. You get to see what he's actually capable of. He might not be as fast as the Flash, but he can definitely see him moving and counter. Batman would not have stood a chance if Clark had really wanted to harm him in BVS, and it's made clear here. Superman was holding back in that fight. Aquaman, Cyborg and Wonder Woman would not stand a chance if Kal-El is the enemy. They could put up a resistance, but they would fall in the end. It's also a subtle reference to Man of Steel. If these gods among men don't have a chance, what makes you think mere humans had a chance with Zod and his crew? This also highlights the greatness of Superman, that he doesn't even take over the world and chooses to live to serve. But you are also given the reason why. Superman, like every human, can be bound with love, and his heart belongs to Lois Lane. He wouldn't harm her in his worst nightmares. And when Lois tells him to fly away, the first place he instinctively goes to is to his mother's house. And if that's not being human, then I don't know what the fuck that is. But the inverse message of this fight is the realization that Superman is the final stand when it comes to the defense of Earth. He is the Calvary. If he falls, then we are entirely screwed. This is also why he's the one to lay the beat down on Steppenwolf. But then you are also shown that even with all his power, he can still fail, as he does with this movie when the Singularity succeeds. But due to the actions of the Flash, time is reversed and they claim victory. Superman may be powerful, but he is not invincible. This is why the team needs to form, as it allows all the members to do their best work together. This, my friends, is the greatness of visual storytelling. Now obviously we got a lot of extra content here from Snyder that would have shown again where his cinematic universe was intended to go, and at this point that's expected. But watching this movie, it felt like a final film to conclude a vision. I know I'm supposed to be hopeful that we might get more in the future, but unfortunately, I am all about pragmatism. Hope can sometimes be a poison that stops us from enjoying what we have, which will lead to disappointment and inevitable bitterness. As a fan, I am glad I got to see this film, as it would have been a tragedy if Whedon's attempt was all we had as a conclusion. I shiver at the thought of ever watching that trash ever again. So again, I am glad Snyder got to finish his vision, and as a result we got a worthy conclusion. But I'm going to look forward to the future and the world that James Gunn will now build, because I am a fan of DC Comics and I'm also a fan of Gunn's work too. I am 35 years on this planet, and from what I have realized from my relatively short time in this world, there is no such thing as a binary choice. Life is often lived in the grey area. James Gunn's contribution to film is immense, and the fact that one of my most favorite films of all times, Super, is his creation is no secret to the people that know me. A little spoiler here, that film is incredibly violent and I love every minute of it. I know people may not like the Superman film he gave us. I count myself as one of those people. But I am also aware that the Suicide Squad was a better movie than the Will Smith and David Ayer version. Gunn also takes feedback into his work and improves because of it. As far as I'm concerned, the DCU is in good hands, and as a fan of comic book films, we should be open-minded to what he can do with it. No one person sets out to build an inferior product, and Gunn is also a fan of comic books. I look forward to his artistic vision in the DC universe as long as it lasts. I guess you could say I remain a teeny bit hopeful. Till next time, friends.